We've traversed the tombs of Naxxramas. We've climbed every cliff on Black Rock. Now the world cries out for heroes. As a new evil rises, there will be danger. There will be doom. There will be ancient temples filled with relics, treasures, and traps. Who will answer the call?
Explorers lead, and we are in need of explorers. Adventure we seek, cross land and sea. Born to come and join us.
Yes!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to StarLadder iLeague. We are here on day 2 of Redemption Week, and our next 2 redemption candidates are Neirea versus StanCifka. Now, you really want to see the StanCifka versus Life Coach match, but he's got to go through Neirea, and that might be a difficult thing here. If we see the classes, they are playing fairly different classes. StanCifka, the only one with a hunter, as you mentioned. Neirea is doing the Druid, Rogue, Warrior, and StanCifka has his own Druid, but with Paladin. So Druid is the only class they have in common, and it should be an interesting matchup. I am mostly curious seeing on what's going to come out of this hunter deck. Now, have you experimented much with control hunters, Noxus? I imagine you have.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have. I think everybody has. The issue is you always feel like you might as well be playing mid-range. You always think to yourself, well, I could be playing a bit more aggressively and win more of my games. So it's like playing Control Hunter feels like right now it's mostly a novelty. Like you do it for you do it for fun, right?
Masochistic experience.
Yeah, it really is, because sometimes... I mean, it's just, if you had more card draw, right? Mm-hmm. If you just had more card draw, which I think this cover tackles a bit, which is why some people report success with Reno Hunter. Let's put it into perspective. It's a mild success. We're talking tier 5, but it's pretty fun. I don't think StanCifka will be bringing it, although we can hope that his mid-range is on the very, very control-ish side. You know, the type of decks that run Deathlords. Mm-hmm. That has been seen before. You know, Death Star popularized that type of deck on ladder a long time ago. We might see it come back.
Yeah, now on the other side of the playing field, Neirea's lineup has the Rogue. Neirea has brought Rogue in a time where it wasn't too good, but he was bringing like the Oil Rogue, while people may not realize that Neirea was one of the originally very, very good Miracle Rogue players. And now Miracle Rogue possible again through the powers of the Tomb Raider. I wonder if he actually does bring the Miracle Rogue back in the tournament. We had some hope of it yesterday. I believe yesterday we had at least one Rogue player, but it turned out not to be the case. It turned to be the Oil Rogue. So it's kind of interesting that we have multiple types of Rogues out there, but in my opinion, the Miracle Rogue is just so much more fun to see play.
Yeah, I mean, there is a Rogue expert. He kind of reminds me of Dog in a way, because they both play a lot of Rogue, and they also never had, either of them, a first-place finish, I think. There is still... I know Neirea was close to
Dog
it with
won something, but I don't remember. It wasn't like a big something.
Sure. I know Neirea almost got the first place in the European Championship, but ended up falling just shy of it. Yeah, I think Dog finished in the team thing with China, right? Like, there was a tournament in China, and they ended up getting first place and splitting the prize pool. I think that's where he ended up getting first place. Like, a solo achievement, like, that's still not a thing for either of these guys. And Rogue being possibly played with Miracle now, with Neirea being so comfortable with the archetype a while back, I want to see at least, like, if there is something like Oil Rogue, I at least want to see the Tomb Pillagers with even just one Gadget Stand. That's enough to spice up the archetype a bit.
Yeah, that does sound pretty interesting. I do hope there is at least one Gadget Stand as well. And Tomb Pillager has been a card that's just been very interesting across all the Rogue fronts, in my opinion. We have seen it. It's not very common. We have seen it in the Oil Rogue a little bit. And I think even Control Rogues, which doesn't actually exist, can benefit from having a decent body with a coin to follow.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit tricky though to see. To figure out what Miracle Rogue deck, if it has to come back, right? What Miracle Rogue deck is gonna be the best? Because I feel like right now the lists that we see feel, like they're close to something good, but they're still less consistent than Oil. Because the burst that you put together seems to be more. It's more bursty, but you don't really get those tempo plays that you otherwise would get in Oil.
All right. Well, we have what we had just witnessed. We have what is likely a Grim Patron Warrior versus what is likely a mid-range combo Druid. I believe the more aggressive Druid lists don't run Shade, so I think that is the definitive card for a more mid-range style at least. And so far, this has been going the Druid's way, but in the one game that we have seen this matchup in, a lot of things went the Druid's way. So it's difficult to really assess the matchup just on that. But I feel it is a pretty close one. The Patron Warrior has a lot of the defensive tools that the Control Warrior has. Plus, it has just the absolute win condition of flooding the board with Grim Patrons.
Yeah, as soon as you get that turn, even with the nerf of the Warsong Commander, your ability to play Deathbite on 4, Patron on 5, with Inner Rage, pop the Axe, that is still on its own a win condition. Sometimes the Druid's able to diffuse that by having a minion already set up with an Innervate play with a Force of Nature. Otherwise, it's very often a death sentence.
All right, well, looks like we have a turn 3 Fel Reaver and a turn 5 Fel Reaver. And then he's not going to have anything else to play because that'll be his deck. I think,
but that's fine. With the Execute, though, that's going to get punished pretty severely. If Neirea didn't have that, though, I think
it's not just the Execute, it's the coin as well. It's the double.
It's everything, yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a little bit of a disaster, I think.
Well, you could... he needs a 4-drop, right? Because if he goes for the Innervate Fel Reaver, which undoubtedly I think he will... one thing to keep in mind is that Neirea has no real way to kill his Fel Reaver without attacking into it, so that means he's taking 8 in the process, and that still plays in StanCifka's line of play.
The other minion too, right? Because that other minion is going to go face, and he's going to have to attack into it the turn after.
We're talking about how bad it is, but in truth, it's maybe less bad than we're making it out to be. Yeah, I guess you could Loatheb to get recurrent damage out of that before you play the Fel Reaver, but that means you delay it by 2 turns. I don't think that's realistic. You want to slam it as soon as possible, I imagine.
I don't think Fel Reaver and delay go in the same sentence most of the time.
Yeah, there's probably an argument to play around Whirlwind Execute, but I don't see that as being something the Warrior would keep in the first place against you. So...
And all right, well, let's see it. Here it comes.
Yeah, we're going to reave some Fels.
On 3. That is quite a big threat. Neirea has the answer. He can actually play the Frothing Attack and then Coin Execute, which burns 9 cards and sets up an advantageous board situation.
Yeah, StanCifka then will have to keep track of all the cards that fly out of his deck. He always keeps track of every card, and he's going to have to look at them very quickly because they won't be very long on that. I don't know how fast it passes by, but it's pretty quick. Oh, Finley, gone. And there we go. StanCifka with the notes.
Oh, there's Boom.
We always say it doesn't matter what you lose, but that's one less card you really want to see. He still hasn't seen a Force of Nature or a Savage Roar, though.
It's both jugglers then.
That's fine, right? As long as you don't lose Savage Roar, you're good to go. Wow, he hasn't lost a single Savage Roar.
He just drew a Force of Nature.
Well, look at that.
It's like spinning the wheel and landing on a good number.
Look at this from StanCifka. He kills the Frothing, pushes face. Neirea's thinking, what have I done to deserve this?
Neirea's still in pretty good shape though. Like the Shredder can lead into an trigger. Yeah, I think it's actually strong enough that StanCifka can't play the second Fel Reaver here. I think he has to.
Yeah, you got a Loatheb probably. Yeah.
If you play Fel Reaver, doesn't have an answer, you win the game. So I guess there's that aspect.
Yeah, you win on the following turn. So yeah, it's an all-in play, but we know that Fel Reaver is. The thing is, right now Neirea not only picks that up.
9 more cards.
Yeah. Stan, you better hope there's a Savage Roar down in that deck.
All the way down.
Well, they both... So far, no Savage Roar has been revealed. In before, there's none.
There's
One gone. But still one left. And he really wants it with that Force of Nature. And it is still
No.
there. For all we know, he top decks it right now.
Oh, another force.
Close enough to be good. You might play Shredder and Hero Power,
No,
unless...
I think you forced to clear this board. This board's pretty threatening. That's a ton of damage. A ton of damage.
Good point. I actually did not even think about stopping the aggression as StanCifka, but I guess there's a good reason to do so, because frothing on its own might win the game. I mean, you have double force, that's 12, but that's, you know, one armor
Is
up
that
away
14
from not
if
giving
it
you
gets
the
to be?
game.
Right.
Exactly. So... yeah, I guess clearing the board makes sense. Unless you go Shredder and attack phase for one, and force him to trade.
Yeah.
But...
well, the best case is you go for Shredder and get a Doomsayer, and then you get 4 face damage. Easy. But I actually think that won't happen, because if you do play the Force, I believe you have to kill the Frothing first. Oh, wow.
yeah. I like attacking, because you are winning. If he uses a weapon for this, you're probably happy.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to be, right? Otherwise, he ends up trading his Shredder, which means that he loses one of the things he wanted to kill anyway. Oof, that's rough. That is
very
a
good.
rough one. Poor Stan.
Yeah, he's taking so much damage here.
So if he uses Force of Nature, kills the 2/2. Oh, well,
That
never
is perfect draw. Swipe deals with both minions on the board, and that extends him at least 2 more turns.
So Force hit 4 on the face. How
Oh,
much
yeah,
would that
that's,
be?
that's true, actually. If he does do the Force instead of the swipe, it makes it so his hand is a lot less clunky. I think the
Yeah, you
Force
can weave
over
it
the
in
swipe
later.
is the correct play.
I mean, you'd Force on 8, and then Force on 9 with, of course, the second Savage War that's left in your, what, 3 cards left? Hell if I know, but it can't be that many, so...
Yeah, I think he's got about 5 cards left in his deck right now.
Yeah,
You have to keep in
18
mind that
gone,
the
he's drawn
Fail
about
Reavers were played
2.
on turn 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Right at the start of the game.
Best time, but Neirea had the double execute, so... at least it wasn't a death sentence. This is typically why people, advocate just dropping the Fel Reaver as soon as possible, is yes, it may die, but if it doesn't, that's a free win you've just taken, so...
Oh, 2 cards left, okay.
yeah, he's got basically a 100% chance to get it by the time turn 9 comes up, which is why I Force on 8, and then you just Force, and, yeah, you win.
I don't know
Unless
if
he
you
doesn't.
Can, if you can slam here. If you slam, you have to slam afterwards, but... like, you might need the armor. Like, Neirea knows, right? He knows he's going to get comboed. And if he
Yeah.
knows he's going to get comboed,
Yeah.
he knows that he just doesn't have enough HP. But he's probably thinking, what can he draw that actually makes
Inner
a
Rage. Inner Rage would make a crazy difference. It would win the game next turn. Instead of having to hope that he gets out of this mess.
Well, he actually has lethal as it stands. The Grommash. If he doesn't die
Yeah,
here, Neirea wins the game.
Yeah.
Actually,
well, he
Neirea has won the game unless StanCifka clears one
I think
of the
StanCifka will
group
clear one of the
patrons.
patrons. Yeah, knowing StanCifka, I think that's what he'll do. Because the worst case scenario is there's an Armor Smith with an extra minion on the board. And so you go Force of Nature, Hero Power, and you attack face. Yeah, it seems like something StanCifka would do. We'll see whether or not he picks up on it. I think he will. I think he will.
All right, and if that's
hope
the
he doesn't
case,
take that phase damage,
Neirea
though.
has at least 2 outs. The Inner Rage will be lethal.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he does make the play. Neirea has the top deck here. He has to get a good draw. Otherwise, it's not happening. Inner Rage is lethal, and a few other options might. Does he have a
So
Belcher,
what if-
perhaps?
Yeah, I was thinking Belcher and Armor Smith is too late because you don't have any AoE to get armor off of.
No, Belcher is not too late.
No, the Belcher is the only thing you can play, but Armor Smith is too late. If you get it, you don't have enough armor gain without the AoEs that you're looking for. Dread Corsair even may feel okay, but if you know there's a combo, you're dead to it. And he fully knows it. Let's see what he picks up. Corsair is like a non-response. Just doesn't help enough.
No, it does not.
Very well spotted by Sifka, by the way, on the clear.
Yeah, that Battle Rage is probably it.
Yeah, he was looking
Double
for
Armor Smith.
Yeah, and the
Wow.
Whirlwind.
That
on
was
the back
much
of that.
closer than it seemed. If StanCifka had just a small slip up there with the Force of Nature, he would have been dead. Very close game indeed. Neirea was only a few points off lethal.
Yeah, and if
But,
that second
not
Savage Roar
quite.
had gone, the game was over as well, right? Like, the jugglers were a big loss, but a juggler swap with a Savage Roar was game. There was no way there that the juggler would have won for Sifka in the way that the Savage Roar did.
All right, well, first point goes to StanCifka. He has the Paladin and the Hunter still left to grab a few wins with. I think both of those decks are going to struggle against the Grim Patron Warrior of Neirea. So Neirea is probably not feeling too bad, considering that's the case. But he has to really try to line these up properly, because there are a few bad matchups here still. Most hunters are going to do quite well against rogues, for instance, and they're going to do quite well against a lot of druid decks. It depends a lot on the type of hunter, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I don't pin StanCifka on Phase Hunter, but we were talking about how he diversifies his lineup, and overall, even though it's unexpected, it may come up, and if it is not a mid-range hunter, then Rogue's going to have a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we'll have to see. It's really about what type of decks these are, but if Neirea can narrow down, I think Neirea, what he needs to do is actually leave his warrior last, because that's probably just going to grab a win regardless.
Yeah, so if you go Druid, its mid-range hunter is pretty difficult. Paladin's also pretty rough. Rogue, I think, is likely to grab a win. If you pin StanCifka on mid-range hunter as well.
On the Paladin, right?
Yeah, that seems to be the thing I do. Although Rogue is also not too risky. If you run into the Hunter, you can probably grab a win there. But yeah, I think every matchup you pick just feels like it could backfire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really about the Paladin, I feel. If it is a more aggressive Paladin, I think Neirea has 3 decks that are pretty good against it. But if it's like more of a mid-range Paladin with like taunts and heals and stuff, might be a different case.
Yeah, I don't know about StanCifka playing an aggressive deck, right? I really pin him on maybe not mid-range Pally, but a slower Secret Pally, if anything. Mm-hmm. It's a playstyle I think he enjoys. I mean, I really like the fact that there's a possibility we see Neirea bring out some kind of Miracle Rogue. I'm not too sure how they line up against these decks. I have to assume against Hunter, if it's mid-range and you're drawing okay, you can stem the bleeding, but it's going to be very tough. Because Freezing Trap falling down on something like a Tomb Pillager, when you don't necessarily curve with some of the lower stuff that a normal quote-unquote rogue would be playing, you might have to use South Sea Deckhand to trigger that stuff. It's possibly very difficult. StanCifka's having a lot of fun here. I'm not sure why.
They're probably just talking to each other. They're probably messing around before the match begins once again. And here it is. What's it going to be? It's going to be Hunter versus Warrior. I'm surprised Neirea is bringing out the Warrior already. But it seems to be a fairly standard Hunter from the cards that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, Horse Rider is not a card you see in every single list, but it's been coming up more and more, I think, obviously, as the result of how powerful it is. And look at that. Juggler, Double Scientist, opener with Animal Companion Shredder. I think that's going to be hard to top.
Well, the Fiery War Axe does take care of a lot of that. It's going to depend on what these secrets are going to be.
Well...
Oh, that is a bad draw.
Yeah, StanCifka, you saw a little bit of a sad smirk on his face.
Now...
Okay, double fiery, never mind. Things are looking pretty good on their side as well.
Now, typically we see 2 traps and 2 scientists, but that's because most hunter decks have been very aggressive. I think the slower hunter decks have run 3 traps, 2 scientists, so this might not be a complete disaster. But it does look like the trap in play is a freeze trap. Oh,
wow.
That is a bad Animal Companion.
You just pass, right? Because if it's freezing trap, unless you really want to play that Shredder, I mean, the Goon might just get replayed if you let it be frozen, right? It just gets replayed for 4, and then the question is, is that better for me than him playing?
It can't be.
something.
have
No,
to
because you
trade.
might play a Shredder, right? But then you keep the trap.
Yeah,
So-
having the trap is important, even though you have one in your hand already. This Huffer is not really doing anything. All it
Ever.
could do is just pull off a tempo push. But I mean, freeze trap is always going to do that. So I think you just trade
Yeah.
here. Just go for the trade.
Well, it was pretty sensible, but now Neirea again getting a turn of. Man, this is unbelievably aggravating if you're StanCifka. I mean, to deal with this, you need to pick up Eagle Hornbow just about now. That'll do a bit of work.
Not quite. It's probably going to have to be the Shredder here once again.
Yeah, it looks like the only play that makes any sense. And what's interesting too is because you have the freezing, even if there were a patron to pop this ghoul, and Neirea might hope for that, he knows it's going to have to wait at least one more turn.
Most likely, I think we'll see the Lothab come down.
Yeah, attack with the ghoul, play Lothab. Unless you
We'll
just
attack with
play
the
like,
axe. Let's see what we're going to
you
get
don't
first.
attack with anything. You just play the Lothab or the patron, and then you get more back.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
That is quite good. That will
Pretty
prompt
decent card
StanCifka
here
to-
for Sifka.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
he's gonna have to use that right away, isn't he?
Yeah, no choice. I think he's got to kill that patron right now, so Glaivezuka would kill command. Neirea knows that if there's no quick shot and no kill command in StanCifka's hand, or something like Owl Bow, which if there were a bow you would have seen it last turn, you're pretty safe. But StanCifka's
Glaivezuka
going
does work.
to finally keep his board.
Yeah, well, not exactly. It's gonna die to the War Axe, but he does have his own weapon. He does have a trap up, so he is a little bit ahead, I believe. There's some argument to be had for not attacking here, but StanCifka would know exactly which way that should swing, as he has a much better idea than we do about how many weapons are in his deck here. Typically, we see the double Eagle Horn Bow. I think Glaivezuka is not as common, and often when mid-range hunters run Glaivezuka, it's just a one of rather than a two. So if it is a one of, I think there could be an argument made for not attacking, but it's difficult. It's difficult to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly there as a control tool, obviously. It's kind of like if you were given something like a Stormforged Axe, or like if there were no Cog Hammer in the game, right? Would people play Argent Lance? They might, just because it's a 2/2 for 2, but when you've got Minibot already on that curve, it's hard to justify. It's just the type of card that you play to control the board, which means that StanCifka's mid-range is less about pushing for damage and more about playing it slowly and outvaluing the opponent while wearing them down with the hero power. So the Horse Rider that we saw is also a really cool thing with Glaivezuka, because you can kill the first part of a Shredder, of a Belcher that is, and maybe even finish off a Shredder. You know, they play Shredder, you're on the coin, you coin it out, and then you can kill the Shredder.
There's
It's
a lot of
a
options
pretty cool
with
play.
the Divine Shield charge minions. All right, well, what do we see here from Neirea? Obviously, Lothab is the strongest play as is, but you have to consider that is absolutely going to be a freeze trap. So how do you want to choose to play around that one?
I think the freezing trap might be okay on Lothab, but you're getting really low on health. I mean, I'm happy about the effect because I dodged the spells, but I'm also in trouble specifically because the spells can just not matter with the hero power.
All right, well, it looks like StanCifka is just going for as much aggression as he possibly can get. His hand is very bad, though. He really is going to have to draw very well here to close out this game. Otherwise, Neirea's combos are just going to start doing their magic.
Yeah, I want to know what StanCifka's like if he's playing 3 traps or just 2 freezings. That's the thing I want to know most, I think, at this stage. Speaking of freezing, this is a surprisingly good outcome, I think, for Stan. Because if the Neirea had decided to play the Armorsmith alongside the Lothab, then the freezing trap would be less effective.
You really
Whereas
think a
now-
7-mana freezing trap is a good idea?
Well, I mean,
guess
the
it is, 'cause
alternative.
if he plays Lothab again, it's his whole turn once again.
Yeah, and you play abusive hero power on that turn, and you're pushing for quote unquote free damage this turn. And I don't expect to see the Lothab again. I mean, if I played here, I don't think.
Yeah, freeze trap does basically act as 4 damage. It's 7 mana, but yeah, it's okay, I guess. I guess it's 2 damage
Yeah.
then. That's not that good then.
It's pretty clunky. It's just so difficult.
Yeah,
to,
it's difficult to guarantee value at any other stage.
All right, looks like there might be another trap in that deck. Although I suspect a lot of smorking. Yep, there we go.
Yep. Let's just
At
go
this point,
face.
gotta seal the game. He can use Unleash even for a tiny bit of damage, and that's better than nothing. But there's a chance Neirea gets a crazy amount of armor here. It's not that unlikely.
It is a little bit unlikely actually because he just doesn't have that many plays. Like, it looks like Neirea might be banking on a whirlwind effect.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got the 2 whirlwinds left in the deck, right? A slam as well to kill something if need be. But yeah, he is banking on those. Perhaps we talked about taunts earlier. That might be another thing.
Well, he's already gone through 2 with the 2 ghouls. Well, those are cards
That's
that don't do
pretty
anything. Is that lethal? I believe it is.
It looks
one
like
off.
it.
Now it's
Oh.
totally lethal.
Yeah, he was 1-off lethal and picked up the kill command number 2. Neirea will go 0-2 against StanCifka.
That is pretty rough. But again, I feel like if StanCifka is running an aggressive Paladin deck, Neirea has like pretty alright matchups all the way through. So yeah, it's definitely a bad spot for Neirea, but it might not be quite as bad as it might seem.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about what StanCifka brings. It's hard to pin him on anything. Like, if it is a mid-range pally, any kind of paladin, I think Rogue can handle. Warrior may have some trouble against some of them. The Patron style can definitely win if the deck isn't too heavy on taunts. And Druid, I think that might be the trickiest one. I feel like Rogue's going to win at least one match, so he's going to queue it up first. And it looks like Secret Pally from Cifka, but the question is, how low on curve is it, or is it trying to curve later? Maybe with the Dr. Boom.
Yeah,
and
we'll have to see
Ragnaros even.
This is a pretty nice curve, but I don't know if it's going to work out too well to do like the noble sacrifice against the rogue.
Yeah, it just wastes a charge, but really doesn't accomplish too much. Yeah, he does in fact throw it away. Coghammer is exceptionally good because they end up taking recurrent damage from a minion that they are trying to get rid of.
Whoa, Emperor for Neirea. That's a little bit weird.
Malygos Miracle Rogue, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. It's got to be that.
Does it have to be? I mean, it seems like a very unusual card. I can't think of any other type of deck that it would be in.
Maybe Miracle straight up. I mean,
I think you actually don't backstab.
It,
I think you need to save backstab for the SI combo next turn to kill 2 different minions.
But look at this. Yeah, it's going to hurt. This is the Coghammer value that StanCifka kept the weapon for.
Yeah, but if he just does the Coghammer, it's actually fine because Neirea is going to have the Vile Teacher coin backstab play, which is even better. So whatever StanCifka plays here, Neirea has an excellent answer.
Yeah, that's what Rogue does, I think, against Pally. Nowadays, it feels like the best way to beat Pally is just to queue up Rogue. And unless you really blank on the early game, you should have enough AoE to deal with whatever he throws your way. All right.
Here comes the start of the Vile Teacher beatdown, and there is no direct answer in StanCifka's hand. In fact, there just isn't an answer. Paladin, like, not capable of doing 5 damage on turn 4 from nothing.
Yeah, what's tricky though with the current health total is that Neirea's, like, it looks like nothing, but he's pretty low on health, right? I mean, Shredder comes out back to back, possibly with a redemption next turn, and Neirea's gonna have to start trading away his minions in order to get value out of them, and that's not what he wants to do. Okay, this has to be a miracle, no question.
All right. Well, Deadly Poison makes a bit of a show here, but it really depends on what comes out of the Shredder. There's some really bad things that could happen. That is not one of them, though.
Yeah, there's a pretty mild one. Could have been a 1-1, exactly the same outcome in Neirea's case. Doesn't really mind either way, but Consecration for StanCifka is going to do pretty much exactly what he planned for it, which is why he attacked with the Coghammer the previous turn to set it up.
Now,
Worst
the
case
redemption,
scenario, he would have had to re-attack, but
yeah, the redemption might not work out too well, but if he grabs like a shielded mini-bot, it'll be absolutely insane.
oh, this is Emperor with Malygos.
Yep.
Could this be the dream?
Well, if he gets the juggler here, this would be amazing. No, he
Does
does
not.
not get the juggle.
Neirea can finally take a breath. Oh wow, amazing outcome there for Neirea as well. Picks up a heal bot. So you Emperor, check for the secret. How do you check for the secrets? You'd probably
You
check
Blade
first
Flurry.
and then figure it out. You Blade Flurry?
Yeah, because even
pre-Malagos?
if it's Redemption, then it's still fine because it'll trigger on the Juggler because the Juggler was played first.
Yeah, I guess you do have to quote-unquote waste your Flurry here in order to stay alive, but that means you have almost no follow-up, right?
Well, Fan of Knives can
Fan
be
of Knives, yeah.
quite good.
Mm.
And also,
You could
if,
Flurry
if-
Dagger up deadly, worst case
yeah,
scenario.
if you need to. But probably Fan of Knives would have to be the play. Because the Juggler will come back with 1 HP. And I believe a juggle will happen.
Will happen as well. Yeah, that's the thing.
The juggle will redeem and then the other minion will spawn, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, it's really scary though. Like this is the amount of damage that the Cog Hammer play did early with the mini bot and the Cog Hammer. We saw 8 damage dealt by turn 3.
Oh,
wow. This here.
Oh, okay.
Well, I assume Neirea is pretty happy with the outcome here, even though he did lose his minion. Unless, like, if Dr. Boom comes out, he can go heal bot sap. If Challenger comes out, straight up sap. I mean...
And there's a very aggressive board there.
Yeah.
Looks like it's going
Smell
to
the
be
good.
heal bot Eviscerate. Just to try to cut down on the aggression. It's just going to be based on what StanCifka manages to pull off his deck right now. Like now is where it needs a really good draw.
That's
really
a
good
decent
draw.
one. Sick
Really good
outcome. So you spread the buffs and then you let magic happen.
Yep, you got to spread the buffs. You got to hit face, but I think it's worth killing the anti-kill bot just because you're not really sure at this stage what type of rogue you're actually playing. Actually,
Yeah, it looks like
you
oil,
probably, you
right?
probably think it's an oil rogue, huh?
But you saw Shiv though, so Shiv says Miracle like no
Shiv
other
says
deck.
Miracle. Okay.
Yeah, so I think he knows it's Miracle, and the question then becomes, am I going to get Gadgets and Auctioneer, Prep, Sap, Prep, Conceal, like just everything ridiculous under the
Well,
sun?
there's no answer to that anyway. I mean, the
Yeah.
only answer to that is to close out the game as fast as possible.
Right, but I feel like making the trade is keeping you safe against oil plays, assuming it's a variant of Miracle that's running the oils, which very often anyway you see a one of in those decks in the first place, depending on how it's built. Sets up lethal for the next turn.
He is banking on it being one of those very, very pesky miracle rogues. That is the way you gotta play it.
Yeah, and returning that 6/6 means Silverhand Recruit is all that StanCifka has, but he needs to pick up 7 more damage to win this. 2-summer champion.
Whoa, that's not it.
Well, that's a bit of damage though. It's not negligible. If it hits the heal bot, then you're happy because it dies. If it hits the Emperor, that's 5 damage mitigated. If it hits the face, your top decks can be a win. So I think everything goes.
All right, well, let's see what Neirea gets. Gets an Eviscerate.
That's
You can
game
play
right
this.
there. Malagos prep this, right? How much
Is
damage
it?
is that?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's
because
9.
of the get down.
Yeah, get down actually stopped the lethal. He otherwise had it, but we're still gonna have to see a preparation being used on that 4/5 to kill it. But now there's a lot of top decks: Kings, True Silver.
No, I believe a 1/1 is going to fall to the heal bot. Against your silver, not lethal.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That is certainly not lethal.
That is certainly the worst card that StanCifka could have found.
I'll never tell.
Well, I think if Neirea draws nothing, he's not going to be able to close out the game, and that might mean that StanCifka has a chance.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but
That is
Yeah,
nothing.
but it
That's
does
nothing.
remove stuff.
It does remove 1 point of damage, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Neirea will never get down to. Well, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know what card does 5 damage by itself though.
yeah, that's the thing. If you double clear, you win next turn, and you're safe. So it's just about StanCifka finding Leroy. RDU did play that in his deck.
No.
Yeah, that is not a Leroy
Wow.
Jenkins.
These are not the draws you want when you're playing this deck. You don't want to draw
Yeah.
the secrets one by one in between secret keepers that you have to play for tempo. So a bad sequence of draws and a bad matchup makes so StanCifka cannot close out the series here. Neirea gets the first point on the board, and he has Patron Warrior and Druid behind to try to take down this Secret Paladin. It's looking more and more hopeful here for Neirea. I don't believe the Patron Warrior can actually lose very frequently to this type of Paladin deck. It's mostly going to have to be about this Druid, the mystery of what it's going to open up with and how the cards are going to drop.
Yeah, well, he does find the Mysterious Challenger, and the mini-bot is probably one of the most important cards. I think StanCifka may keep Redemption for that mini-bot.
I think he might
against
keep
a
the Mysterious Challenger because he's
Yeah,
on
I keep
point.
everything here, right?
Well, you don't want to keep Redemption if it's your only Redemption.
Oh, yeah, if it's a one of, probably not. Wow. Okay. StanCifka is pretty good at getting good openers.
Not all the time, but he's doing okay here.
Mm-hmm.
That coin is so valuable on the Mysterious Challenger, but yeah, he might choose to play it anyway. He does.
Yeah, if there's no War Axe into Minibot, into Coghammer.
Oh, there's no War Axe, but there is a Slam, and the Slam does. Oh, and there's a War Axe.
Oh, there we go. Never mind. That
Jeez.
Minibot is not gonna live to see a Coghammer save it.
No, he is not. Most likely we'll see the Slam play. They
Yeah,
could
see,
see an Enrage play, but that seems very unlikely.
Yeah, Slam draws a card.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty compelling, isn't it? I might do that instead.
Now we can see the Coghammer play. It's not a play you're really very happy about, but it's okay. You can end with a Divine Shielded minion at the end with a Taunt, which is fine. I mean, 2-card Acolyte from your opponent. In this deck, it's not really that much of a surprise. So I think you do actually attack then Coghammer afterwards to kill the Acolyte.
Yeah, looks like Neirea will be picking up a decent tempo card afterwards, though. I mean, this is kind of the dream response for Patron against something like a Secret Pally that opens up with Juggler Minibot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the Slam, he's got the Execute in case things go really sour in the mid-game.
Well, he basically has the Grim Patron Flood already, so I think we might see a pretty greedy break the Divine Shield and re-weapon up with the Death's Bite, or even better, just Death's Bite
Death's
over
Bite. Yeah, exactly.
That's like
Death's Bite over and set up the next turn's Patron.
the
but
ultimate.
it is
ambitious play.
greedy. It is greedy. The Ghoul kind of sets up a Whirlwind effect anyway, without wasting the charge on the Fire War Axe. So, Druid Champion perhaps? Nope, that is not it. Yeah, I think StanCifka is going to go for the concept.
Drawing a card here, because you don't want to have Redemption on the board until like turn 6 or 7. So.
Yeah. Well, Stan's letting his
Really
opponent play patrons next turn by doing this, and he's doing so because he knows that when the patrons are played, he's going to get a redemption on this 1/1, which will be enough to kill the additional patron that gets weakened. The weapon can deal 2 to one of the ones that's about to die, and Consecration can force the board to be flooded, assuming there is a patron turn.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
No?
No, I'm
Really? Because from what I look at, I think the 1/1 guarantees that you get a... does Death Rattle trigger first? I think it does trigger first, right? Before Redemption triggers. I mean, if it's the wrong order and I'm wrong on this, then too bad. Alright.
Yeah, but what I mean is this 1/1 doesn't do anything, and you can't deal with the patrons even with Consecrate. You just can't deal with them. But
Well, if there's 2 AoEs, I guess one's at 2 health, that's your weapon. Another one's at 2 health, your minion's buffed up. You consec, one of them goes to 1/1.
yeah, but
If
it's
there's
spawned
like
to
4 of
3/3.
them, yeah, if there's 4 of them, I think you can force the board to be flooded, and then consec from there,
Maybe, but I
and
really-
force
I
3 to
really
be
doubt
left
it.
with 1 health. Okay.
Well,
Anyway.
we don't get to see that anyway. We are going to see where's probably Grim Patron on the following turn. Neirea is capable of playing the Patron, Inner Rage, and the Execute.
It's hard to top this as patron. Wow, okay. More stuff.
Yeah, it seems like Neirea was afraid to play patron because of the possibility of repentance.
A good cautious play.
I wonder if we'll see the execute here. Is it worth it? Well, I guess his answer is no. So like here, if you play the consecrate, it really does nothing. The consecrate just does 2 damage to the Druid Corsair. It accomplishes nothing else. It kills the low health patrons, but it gets 2 other patrons with low health, then it spawns 2 full health patrons. This is
It spawns only the 1 in this case, right?
What it?
Well, I mean, it was spawned 2, but you attack, you kill one of the 3/3s with your 4/2, and then you'd consec. But I don't know. Like at most, you're leaving what, 1 patron, perhaps. If you're going for that play. The thing is, right now, you really can't afford to do it. I feel like it's too late to be reactive. It would have had to be the turn prior to get the play off. Now, because you know there's a noble sack, actually, there's not even a redemption on this board.
Yeah,
it's stuck
good.
in the hand.
Yeah, that's good actually, because you don't want to get your get down minion redeemed.
That's a bit awkward, but okay. Out come the patrons to play, but
I'm surprised we
Revenge
haven't
triggers.
seen the frothing.
uh-oh.
I guess he's probably thinking of doing execute shredder armor up.
Yeah, that 9/8, however, is not dealt with, is it? Well, you can still trade everything into it, technically,
You know,
and
just
execute the small guy.
Yeah, it's execute. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Lose a 3/1, lose a 3/2, and then execute the 9/8. I don't think there's any realm in which StanCifka is able to clear this up, unless his Doctor Boom does miracles, which it just might.
It might, but yeah, it's very, very difficult to really do much here. That's why the warrior was so favored, because once the Grim Patrons come out, they're just not going anywhere.
Well, StanCifka is going to have to hope the Doctor Boom does more work than his previous line of minions.
Yeah, he has to go with the Doctor Boom here. It really can't clear very well. Probably the best thing they could hope for is that the Shredder falls.
Oh, that's game with the
is that-
Calm, unless
Oh, the inner
Repentance
rage!
is
Yeah,
already
the inner rage
triggered,
Grom
so
is 12. Wow!
yeah,
that.
exact lethal for Neirea. And so that means there's an equalization after what looked to be a very one-sided series. This Paladin from StanCifka doesn't work against what Neirea has been playing.
Yeah, that's true, but Neirea has held off his worst deck against it for last. It is going to be Druid versus Paladin. This is a very even matchup. This is a matchup that often is just dictated on who draws better than the other player.
On the opener, yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
think
often.
it's a very even matchup. And yeah, I think if the Paladin I think if they both draw perfects, the Paladin wins, but it's still going to be a very, very close game. But yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's the Divine Shields, I think, that make the matchup lopsided when they come into relevance. When you see an opener with Minibot with Coghammer against Druid, it's a lot more impactful than against other classes. Also, the Aspirant not being answered by a Paladin, there's very few ways for them to answer it on curve. So that can be one of the ways you just
Well,
win.
one of the craziest ways is you Secret Keeper and play 2 secrets.
Two secrets, yeah.
It's like the Undertaker shenanigans.
Yeah, I remember like recently in a tournament there was a 9/10 Secret Keeper at the end of the game. I don't even remember what it was against 2 classes, of course, that both played secrets, but it was something ridiculous, and I had PTSD.
It does happen. Yeah, I only had one game where it was like just outrageous with a Secret Keeper. Something like if you kill a Secret Keeper when it's like a 7/8, it redeems, and then it gets like kings, then kills you.
Well, that's a really sick opener for Neirea. Not only does he pick up the Aspirant, but he has a swipe from Mustard in case it comes into play. He's got the Wild Growth already set up, but he doesn't have any more minions to follow this up with, so it's mostly going to be removal-based plays.
Oh, he just needs a draw here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
One of them.
That is not really a great one.
Do you kill... I think you kill maybe the 1-2 with the 2-3 and pop the shield with your face.
Well, you can protect your guy if you want to innervate, but I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah, how much would that be worth?
And you can't really play around Coghammer anyway. I think you might just concede the Darnassus Aspirant here. Just save whatever you have.
Yeah, it's only weak assuming you try to, like, you pick up a Druid of the Claw and then Kings comes out. That's very specific.
Alright, well, Lothar comes down. That's fair.
It's alright.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, Neirea had an excellent ramp start, but he doesn't actually have good cards to ramp into right now. And that is a pretty big problem.
Yeah, it's kind of the reason why some people were... I remember Dog, when the Aspirant was announced and he started playing with it, he was like, yeah, I don't see why anybody would play two of those. You play, one Aspirant, two Wild Growths, because he kept getting screwed by having two of those extra ramp cards in the deck that you just top deck the worst time. But it became standard to run everything. But this is kind of what you risk running into.
All right, well, swipe comes down. This is going to dictate whether Lotham's going to make another turn or not. And that's actually a pretty good outcome. You don't really care about giving your opponent one armor as long as you can maintain your presence on the board, which he is going to be able to. Oh, wow, Redemption's really good here.
This is an amazing Redemption.
There's really not much Neirea can do here against the Secret. He's just going to have to draw well
Force
again.
of Nature, I think. He may have to use Force of Nature right now. I don't know. I feel like
It's so poor, though.
Yeah, but I mean, if you use Force of Nature, you attack into the Shredder. If it's Noble Sack, you trigger it immediately.
No, I think... I think...
And then you pop the 2-1.
No, I think you Hero Power... The reason you Hero Power here is the only two secrets there's two of is Noble Sack and Avenge. And in both cases, that prompts the Druid attack, because if it's Avenge, you can then kill the Shredder with the Lotheb. And if it's a Get Down, then you can kill the Mini-Bot with the Lotheb to maintain board control. So I think just based on the probability of secrets, the best play here is going to be a bit of a blunder.
Okay,
he's just choosing not to play around anything. Okay,
because he knows there's two Redemptions, right? I think he's seen those two.
Has he?
Yeah, I believe he did.
All right, well, that's pretty good then. The Juggler is also a pretty good draw here, but it is going to void a lot of the value out of that Redemption, because he's probably going to have to play a guy at the end of this turn.
He's going to try to roll the dice. And that is not a good one, but you've already seen removal come out, so...
Oh my god, this is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Unbelievable.
That is actually unbelievable. That is like...
Well, okay.
If he gets a swipe, this is like done.
Let's not wish this upon poor StanCifka, shall we?
What's the draw?
All right.
It's going to be a Shredder here.
But, I mean, Force of Nature is almost as good as you're going to get. I mean, you can revive that 4-1. You don't really care, whatever it is. If you want to revive the Juggler because you're going to double trade anyway, that's fine too. I think there's almost no trade that's bad. If you revive the 4-1, there's a chance the Juggler snipes one extra knife. So,
yeah,
doing
you
it
don't
this
want,
way
you don't want
was
that to happen.
Tiny bit better. Wow.
Well, the Dr. Boom is still going to pose a bit of a problem, but...
when does it not?
Yeah, if... I mean, it could actually do a lot of damage. Like, it seems like it's going to survive at least one turn. So if Dr. Boom does go for that face hit, and StanCifka draws another big minion to follow, either Mysterious Challenger or Tyrion, that's actually going to seal up the game. But I think if it's just Dr. Boom, over the course of 2 turns, Druid is capable of dealing with it. So it's really on StanCifka to just draw a good follow-up after the Dr. Boom, and he should have this game.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what what you've seen from Neirea is the use of Force of Nature is such an unfortunate one because it means that his ability to maybe seal the game before the damage stacks up is almost non-existent.
Well, there's the other Force of Nature.
I lied. I think Innervate BGH would be a pretty good sequence of draws.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that'd be pretty good. Nope. And nope.
Well,
Whoa.
that's wait, I don't know how to do math. Can you help, Crip?
Yeah, I can help. It's not enough, but it's close. If Moonbots go face for a lot, he can win.
Oh.
Oh, wow. Okay. We are one off lethal right now, I believe.
Yeah, if the Boombot just goes face for 3 more, what? No way. He did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. He absolutely did not get exactly to that concept.
He got exactly.
Not that he was gonna win,
with that
you know.
concentrate.
I don't think Neirea was on his way to win either way, but that was the absolute most dominant way to his.
Brutal way to finish the game.
Oh, poor
Well,
guys.
you got your wish. It will be StanCifka versus Life Coach in the second round today. That was a pretty epic match. Unfortunately for Neirea, StanCifka did come up ahead. StanCifka did have the dominant lead at the start, and to close it out just like that, really pretty awesome. Next up, we will have Orange versus Jab. Jab didn't have to play in the previous round because of his position in the group stage in the earlier stage of the StarLadder I-League tournament this month. He will be playing Orange again. Orange has shown a pretty dominant performance over Hoy earlier today, and I think I'd probably wager on him there just because he's done so well already. But Life Coach versus StanCifka, the match after that should be one you guys want to see.
Yeah, get your caffeine ready, guys. It's gonna take quite a long time for that match to finish once it starts. So yeah, prepare for that. That being said, we'll be taking a short break before we move on to the next match, Orange versus Jab. So stay tuned.